Long before the world was mapped by latitude and longitude, there were places where the veil between the mortal and the divine was so thin that the earth itself seemed to breathe. In the ancient imagination, nature was not a passive resource, but a living tapestry of spirits, where every rustling leaf and plunging waterfall might hide a nympha, a being of pure, ephemeral beauty. But there is a dark side to the classical idol, a reminder that beauty in the ancient world was often a curse, attracting the gaze of gods who knew no refusal. The story of Arethusa is one such tale, a story of a huntress who did not wish to be found, and of a transformation so profound it changed the geography of the earth itself. To understand the tragedy of Arethusa, we must look to the olive groves and marble temples of ancient Greece, and across the sea to the volcanic, rugged shores of Sicily. In this worldview, the cosmos was a crowded place. The air was thick with invisible presences. The rivers were not merely water. They were Godsa Potamoia, ancient, bearded fathers of the nymphs. The springs and fountains were their daughters, the naiads, bound to the flow of water, fleeting yet enduring. To the Greeks, this explained the mysterious cycle of water, how a spring could bubble from the ground, or how a river could vanish into the earth and reappear miles away. They were not studying hydrology. They were witnessing a romance, a pursuit, a divine drama. Arethusa was a daughter of this primeval order, a nymph of the sacred spring, yet she belonged not to the stillness of a garden pool, but to the wild, open spaces. In the golden age of the gods, Arethusa was not a gentle flower waiting to be plucked. She was a handmaiden of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Artemis demanded absolute chastity from her followers, and in return, she granted them the freedom of the wild. Arethusa thrived in this sisterhood of the bough. She was tall, strong, and radiant, her skin aglow with the exertion of the chase. She roamed the forests and the marshes, untamed and untouchable, finding joy in the kill rather than the courtship. She had rejected the company of men and the heavy yoke of marriage, preferring the cold, clean air of the mountain peaks. To her, the forest was a sanctuary, a place of freedom where she was the predator, not the prey. But the ancient world is ruled by a cruel paradox. The more one seeks freedom, the more one attracts the chains of power. It happened on a day when the sun was at its zenith, scorching the earth of Elis. The heat was oppressive, a heavy weight pressing down on the chest of the world. Arethusa, flushed from the hunt, sought a moment of respite. She found a shaded stream, clear as glass and cold as ice, a ribbon of silver winding through the green. It was a place of solitude, or so she believed. She laid down her bow and quiver, stripped away her hunting tunic, and waded into the water. The river closed over her skin, cooling her fevered limbs, offering a moment of liquid peace. She splashed in the pool, innocent and unafraid, a creature of water belonging to the water. Then the water changed. The current grew sluggish and heavy, as if the river itself was holding its breath. A strange silence fell over the landscape, silencing the birds and the cicadas. Arethusa felt a presence rising from the depths below her feet. Suddenly, the voice of the river god Alpheus broke the surfacia, a deep, resonant voice that seemed to vibrate through the very bones of the earth. "Why so reluctant, fairest of maidens?" it murmured, echoing not from the banks, but from the water itself. Terror seized her. She leaped from the pool, trembling, rushing to shore to grab her bow. But the god was faster. He revealed his true form, rising from the streama, not a man of flesh and blood, but a towering figure of turquoise and foam, crowned with water weeds, his eyes like deep pools. He told her he was Alpheus, a great river god, and that he desired her. It did not matter that she was a follower of Artemis. It did not matter that she wanted nothing of him. In the divine logic of the time, to be seen was to be claimed. Arethusa fled. She ran as only a hunted thing can run, sprinting through the briars and the brambles, her bare feet tearing against the rough earth. She could hear the thunder of the god behind her. He did not run on the land. He was the land. He flowed over the meadows, crushing the tall grass, swelling into a torrential flood that chased her shadow. It was a nightmare of pursuit. As she scrambled up a rocky slope, he was there, a rising tide at her heels. No matter how fast she ran, the river was faster, relentless, consuming, roaring her name with the sound of waterfall. Exhausted, her lungs burning, Arethusa realized she could not outrun a god of the waters. She reached the edge of a sacred grove, a place dedicated to her mistress, Artemis. There, at the end of her strength, she cried out to the sky, "Artemis, virgin goddess, save me. Do not let your servant be taken by this force." She fell to her knees, the water of Alpheus lapping at her ankles, his arms reaching out to encircle her waist. The answer came not as a wind or a weapon, but as a metamorphosis. Artemis heard her prayer. In an instant, the horror of the hunt was transmuted into the mystery of the myth. Arethusa felt a heaviness leave her limbs. A mist rose up, thick and white, obscuring her vision. She did not feel the touch of the river go to S hands. Instead, she felt herself dissolving. Her skin turned to cool, slick stone. Her hair became a tangle of dark green seaweed. Her eyes turned into pools of deep water. She vanished. The nymph was gone. In her place, where the maiden had knelt, a spring suddenly bubbled forth from the earth, a clear, cold fountain gushing up from the rock. Alpheus, the pursuing river, rushed forward, but found only a spring, a new source of water that was no longer the girl he desired. Yet his passion was so enduring, so woven into the flow of his waters, that he refused to be separated. Even in her new form, the myth claims that Alpheus mingled his waters with hers. He poured his river into her fountain, creating a union that the earth could not deny. This is where the myth steps from the realm of dreams into the physical geography of the ancient world. The Greeks believed that this transformation did not just end in the woods of Greece. Arethusa, they said, fled underground. She became a subterranean river, flowing beneath the sea, unseen by sailors and sharks alike, traveling from the Peloponnese all the way to the island of Sicily. There, in the harbor of Syracuse, she reemerges to this day as the fountain of Arethusa on the island of Ortygia. It is a place of miracles, a spring of fresh water right beside the salt sea. And legend holds that if you throw a cup into the river Alpheus in Greece, it will eventually surface in the harbor of Syracuse, carried by the Nympha's desperate, endless flight. Even there, beneath the Sicilian sun, the people say that the papyrus growing around the spring was a gift from Alpheus, who followed his beloved all the way to the edge of the known world. The myth of Arethusa is more than a fairy tale. It was a geographical explanation for the ancients. They noticed that rivers often disappeared underground and reappeared elsewhere, particularly the strange phenomenon of fresh water bubbling up in the middle of the ocean. But deeper than the hydrology, the story encodes the terrifying reality of power dynamics in a world where gods represented the uncontrollable forces of nature. It speaks of the helplessness of the Mortala, or the Semidivinia in the face of overwhelming power.